Hello, Irish fans, and welcome to Dome and Domer, the oldest Notre Dame sports podcast on the planet. Joining me, as always, Ed Jordanek. Also back in the saddle again, the original founder of Dome and Domer, Mike Sullivan. Really quick, just a public service announcement, just because everybody is fully aware of the AI fake videos that are out there. If you guys ever see a Dome and Domer episode that is backed by careful analysis and really backed up with specific statistics that are factually true, it's probably not us. Just make sure you delete that video. In any event, Sully, you're back in it. This is great to have you back. 15-year hiatus. How many other podcasts on the planet can say that somebody took 15 years off and then rejoined the show? That is the definition of old. Great to have you back. Give us the background on where you've been and what you've been doing and why you didn't. I mean, everybody's assuming that you're just jumping on because we're now in the national championship and you're the fair weather fan.
Front runner. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's great to be back with you guys. Of course, like we all have long history together as Dillon Hall residents, Notre Dame grads, and we all went to high school together. So, of course, this relationship goes way back even further than Dome and Domer does. But in 2006, started the podcast and, invited you guys in to just have, fun having the conversation about Notre Dame sports that we were having anyway around the kitchen table. And I thought it would be fun to turn that into a podcast during my time with WSBT Radio Group in South Bend. And then I went to work for the last almost 16 years at the university and working for Notre Dame. And I felt like, well, I shouldn't be spending my time talking to you guys about Notre Dame sports when that was my job to talk to our alumni about Notre Dame sports. So I stepped away for the last 15-ish years. And quite honestly, I have not listened to one single episode of Dome and Domer since I left the show 15, 16 years ago.
Well,
but it's fun to be back. Like, why would I listen to you guys on a podcast? I'm never going to do that because we're talking all the time about it anyway. But let's have some fun with it this year and see where it takes us.
To be serious for a second, Mike Sullivan, you're a visionary. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, 2006.
The explosion of this, there are people who literally are billionaires now because of podcasting.
I feel so much better now, Ed.
Yeah, I know. I just thought I'd mention that to make you feel even worse. But it's not like Brammer and I took it and turned it into a gold mine.
We did have one sponsor way back when. I'll give our buddy Mark Turner at South Bend Chocolate a free plug. Way back in 2006, Mark was on board early with sponsoring Dome and Domer. But anyway, this is going to be a great time to obviously get back in the conversation because expectations are super high. So why don't we start with that as topic number one? There's so much momentum, so many good feelings about where we're at. So Eddie Jordanek, are you fully on board riding that wave of Notre Dame excitement? And how are you feeling about the general state of the program in this season?
Sure. So, at the age of 58, I don't get too excited about anything. But it just feels good to be able to go into a college football season and feel like a real player again. We've had that off and on, but this feels a little bit different, and it's all as a result of beating two high-quality opponents in the playoffs last year, and arguably being very, very competitive against Ohio State. We've had this situation and this probably deserved reputation of being a solid football program that basically is pretty far outside the top 3, 4, 5 looking in terms of talent, in terms of consistency, in terms of big game success. So yeah, I think it's I look forward to every football season, but I think most Dome and Domer listeners and fans would agree that the worst thing in the world is for it to be late September, mid-October, and you do something else instead of watching the Saturday night game or staying up late to watch Stanford or just being fully engaged in college football, because the Irish are 4-2 or 4-3 or 3-4, and outside of the conversation. And ironically, I think all three of us probably felt a little bit of that coming back after Northern Illinois last year. And I think that's what makes this so enjoyable, is because this team and this program righted the ship and went all the way when, it's very easy to forget how we felt after that, after that loss. I mean, it was really pretty, is Marcus Freeman the right guy? Riley Leonard is a bust. I mean, you name it. We heard all the narratives. But anyways, to answer your question, Mike, yeah, I'm excited. I love the fact that this feels like a program full of guys who really, really care about football, and that a national championship is truly the standard, and that they believe it in their bones. Obviously, that comes from the top down, from Bavakwa and Freeman all the way down. And I think that sort of attitudinal shift, which for all his contributions, we never kind of quite got in the Kelly era. It's terrific.
Yeah, it's different this year because we you look at how we finished the season, right? What's the last game that we do? And the last game is that tells you everything. Having us play in the national championship in 2012 or make the college football playoffs, that last game was not fun to walk away from because we weren't in it in any of those. And I feel like just now with the trajectory of where the program's at, I mean, you look at the recruiting and holy cow, man, this is something we have not experienced in a while. I mean, you got to go all the way back to, I mean, I think you can make the argument with Weiss's class in 2008 or whichever class that was. But he had an inside top 5 class. But the number of back-to-back classes that we've got and the number of 4-star signees in these classes, this is something we haven't seen in a while. So there's huge excitement right now.
Expectations, sky high. Recruiting is looking great. But Ed, you touched upon something briefly. Like, I feel like the foundations of the program are stronger than they've been probably since the Holtz era, the early part of the Holtz era. And I think we're positioned so well also in the current college football landscape. I personally think NIL works in our favor. I think, certainly the unique academic profile we bring, and we're not going to be, I think, handicapped by the NIL, situation. We're going to have resources available to compete at a higher level. And, NIL, some people say, stands for now it's legal. Like it's an equalizer for us to be able to attract talent in ways that maybe we couldn't do when it was illegal to do those things, right? And so I feel like the infrastructure, the landscape, we're positioned really well for long-term success, and it is an exciting time. So one of the areas where I feel like it's as good as it's been since the Holtz era is the roster itself, as deep as I can remember. So I'm curious as to how you guys look at different position groups and which parts of the team do you feel are the real strengths that you're really excited about? Bram, which position group would you point to?
Well, the one that I think is almost surprising for us is the cornerbacks. I mean, when's the last time that we've been not going into a season thinking like, oh my God, here we go again. We're going to get torched here and exposed on the outside, because we just have not had that kind of elite corners in our program for a long time. But now you look at these guys. I mean, Leonard Moore is the number 1 returning cornerback. He's the top guy at the moment in all of college football on several of those lists. But so for me, that's exciting because that gives you a chance. You got elite corners. College football is all about the quarterback play, right? And anything you can do to put pressure on that, you're going to be in a good situation. So I feel good about that, but I also feel good about the defensive line. I think we're going to surprise people this year. I think we're going to be a lot better on the defensive line than we've been in a long time. And you probably could just look at Bryce Young and Traore as those two guys, and they're elite tight end. There are elite defensive ends that are framed in a way that we typically don't recruit. We tend to have bigger, stockier guys on the defensive ends, and these guys are both elite athletes with elite frames and some wingspan. So I'm really looking forward to that as well.
When you think about the defensive line, I think some key guys here. Jared Dawson, the transfer from Louisville, be very interesting to see. How good he is. They love Onye so far. I guess in camp had a great camp, and Heinisch is just a kind of blue collar.
He's Heinisch,
like his brother was, and so the defensive line will be interesting. The interior, I think we're really good on the edges. I think it will be interesting to see how we develop on the interior.
Eddie, I think what's really cool about that is, on passing downs, they'll move some of those guys inside. And that sort of creates problems for an offensive line. To tell you the truth, the only thing that because I'm always sort of looking at this maybe a little bit glass half empty, but I think it puts a lot of, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but it makes Chris Ash's job and Al Washington's job pretty challenging to get the right personnel on the field at the right time. I mean, there's only a limited number of plays each game, and you want to get the personnel mixes right. I mean, they're still learning. When you've got that many guys around, it's pretty hard to sort of to see who's going to be effective on a particular day against a particular offensive line. So that means coaching, I think, comes into play really big when you've got that much depth and that many people that you can mix and match. And again, it's a first world problem. But still, I think in the big games, like these first two games, you obviously want your best guys on the field, and you want them on the field situationally, right? You want the best guys out there for 2nd and 11. You want the best guys out there for 3rd and 3. The key plays in the game. So I think that's going to be interesting to watch. Is sort of like I remember last year. Just on the offensive side of the ball, there were several times where we were like, "What the hell is Aeneas Williams doing out there on 3rd down?" When you've got, Jason, Love and Price, and but the coaches knew what they were doing. I mean, he was a terrific 3rd down back.
Yeah,
he made some really big plays, both taking handoffs and catching passes, and that's an example of knowing your personnel, knowing who fits a particular down and distance in a particular situation. I think the same applies to defense. What are those matchups that they're gonna create? What are those packages that they're going to put out there that, in big games is the difference between, getting the ball back or, giving up a key first down and letting a team get into field goal range or, into the red zone. So that's how I look at the defensive line. Kind of got off on the defensive line a little bit there, but.
Good, interesting point, Ed, about Chris Ash and the communication. I think everybody feels like you've got easily 6 guys for the 2 interior positions, and situationally where you're going to put your edge guys in the middle for whatever matchup, and how they communicate that and what the rotation is on a given week. Those are I think the subtle things of how the staff prepares. That it will be interesting to see the evolution with Chris Ash, replacing Al Golden. So that's something to keep an eye on for sure. So give me a position group though, Ed. Would you say the defensive line is your key position group, or the one you're excited about, or is there another one?
It's funny, Mike. I mean, over the years, what I've always noticed is not every year, but oftentimes the position group that gets the most hype ends up disappointing a little bit. And the position group that everybody thinks is sort of a weak spot rises to the occasion. That's happened several times. I can remember that's happened a couple times with the defensive backfield, and so it's kind of funny because this year, sort of if you were going to rank the position groups, you'd have to put quarterback last. That's the one that is that we have the least intelligence to go on. That's the one that obviously, and so that's obviously such an important position, maybe the important position. But I'm going to go with offensive line. I have no reason to have any lack of confidence in Joe Rudolph. Um, I think we've sort of taken it as an article of faith since last season ended that this was going to be one of the best offensive lines in the country, that they were going to be excellent. But they've had a couple injuries. They'll have a couple of new pieces. I'm really interested in, because to me, the key to scoring points, especially in these first two games, are being able to move the ball on the ground. You've got to get CJ Carr comfortable. You've got to put him in third and short situations. You've got to be able to build his confidence to move the chains. And the way that you do that is that you get 4, 5, 6 yards on first down with Jeremiah Love or Price or whatever. So I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on the offensive line and seeing if they sort of meet that standard that I think we've all preordained them to have this year. And I don't have any reason to believe that they'll be really in good shape, by mid to late season. I think we saw that with Rudolph. It was amazing what he did with some smoke and mirrors and a freshman left tackle, et cetera, et cetera. I think he's a really good coach, and I don't have any reason to believe that Knapp won't even be that much better. But to me, it starts with these first two games, and what are they going to come out of the blocks showing us? So that's what I'm kind of focused on.
I mean, listen, offensive line, defensive line, that's where football is won and lost, right? So those position groups are going to be critical. Let me throw a different one out there that I'm just excited about, because it's not been a strength over the last couple of years, but I think maybe it could be, and that's wide receivers. I think we've added two really important pieces in the transfer portal that could maybe make our wide receiver core something that others have to game plan around, which I don't think has really been the case over the last couple of years. Specifically, Malachi Fields is really one of the best returning receivers in the country. And, again, we don't know until we see it out there, but I think he's positioned well to be, a 1,000-yard receiver kind of guy that we haven't had. And that guy that defenses have to pay attention to, which could open up lots of other things I think we have playmakers everywhere, right? But I'm very excited to see Malachi Fields in the wide receiver core. So, okay, now let's think about the schedule, generally speaking. And it's not an easy, I always try to see what are the 4 premier tough games, the 4 tweener games, and, maybe there's 4 automatic wins. I look at the schedule this year, I'm not sure there's 4 games that automatically I feel great about. But overall, when you look at the schedule, what are you guys thinking and feeling? And where do you see Miami? Obviously, we'll talk more about that later in the week. But where do you see the schedule being most challenging?
I'd say I think first off, you got to go 1-1 in these first 2 games. I mean, that's the floor. So that's what you have to meet, and that's just a big ask. We've got a starting quarterback that's never taken a snap in a meaningful situation, and he's going to be up against it at Miami. That is a hostile place to play. They are going to come after him, and so we get that bye week heading into A&M, but boy, that's another tough program with a great coach, and anything can happen. I just think that this is such a heavy loaded. I can't think of the last time that our first 2 games were these 2 good of opponents that we faced right out of the gate. It's just unfortunate that
Bram, A&M in Northern Illinois last year. I mean, come on.
Right. Exactly. But the Arkansas game worries me. I mean, man, that's going to be at night. I guarantee that's a 7:30.
That's a noon start.
It is a noon start. All right. Well, that helps.
Noon Eastern, 11 local time, which is even better, right?
Yeah, that definitely helps. But even still, I mean, that's an SEC. That's a tough matchup for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's, look, I think this is a wide array of what could be possible this season, and it all starts with quarterback play, obviously. So I think there's a big array of what the possibilities are for us, unfortunately. But I think those 3 games are just 3 huge games that are going to be, you got to go 2 and 3, right, in those games. That's a big ask.
I mean, besides that opening segment, you look at the schedule, what are some games that make you go, anything? Or
yeah, like I you know, Pitt, Syracuse, these are teams that, they can throw a haymaker on any given Saturday, right? Even BC, that game's going to be out here. The place is going to be, I think Bill O'Brien is a really good football coach. This is what you were talking about before, Mike Sullivan, is like, these teams, they add a couple pieces through the portal, or they find a guy, from Baylor that was a 4-star that didn't get much time, but he's got talent, and suddenly they fit him into a system that he flourished. I mean, that kind of stuff happens. So I think it's a really good schedule from top to bottom. Obviously, it's front end loaded. I mean, by the time we we walk off the field against USC, we'll know what this team is. I mean, we'll have played Miami, Texas A&M, Boise, Arkansas on the road, and USC. I mean, that's, an NC State and Purdue sprinkled in there for good measure. So, the NC States, the Pitts, and the Syracuses of the world always concern me a little bit, just because they won't be as deep as us, but they will have, a handful of athletes that can change a game, right? They will have some guys that can take it to the house, or some guys that could get a strip sack, or some guys that, they have they have the raw material to make life difficult. And if you have an off day, or you're kind of riding high, and you've just got to come off an emotional win against USC, or you've just come off an emotional win against, you've just had a barn burner down in Fayetteville, that sort of after that took a lot out of you. Those are but that's college football today. I don't like this mentality that you've got a little bit more give because of the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. It's such a cliche, but you just have to look at it as 12 one-game seasons, and you've got to get your head on straight. We as fans, it's great to look ahead and to sort of analyze and whatever, but from a coaching staff standpoint, I guarantee you that they walk that talk. They look at these as 12 one-game seasons. Now, maybe Marcus Freeman's job as a head coach is to be a little bit more strategic and think about sort of things leading up to the bye week and nutrition and workouts and all that kind of stuff. That's different. But I'm just talking about in terms of like, playing out the season. It's just got to be a week-to-week thing for them. And the successful teams do that and do it well.
Yeah, the new dynamics of college football do change a little bit how we as fans look at this. I agree with everything you're saying, Ed. 10-2, okay, we're probably in the playoffs, right? And I don't know if we're hosting a game at 10-2, but in previous years, you'd think, well, 2 losses and maybe you get a New Year's Six game or something, but it'd be pretty disappointing. 10-2 with this schedule, I feel like we're going to be in the playoffs. Now, I'd be disappointed, a little disappointed, honestly, if we were 10-2. I mean, I feel like we're loaded and everything should click. I'd be disappointed maybe at 10-2, but I think we'd be in the playoffs. I'd be shocked if we lost 3 games with this team. How do you guys look at that when you look at the schedule and now you put it to wins and losses?
Yeah, just because of the uncertainty at the quarterback position, you just don't know. I mean, it may take him. Look, Riley Leonard, as we all know, wasn't quite clicking in game 2. So how long is it going to take Carr to get kind of clicking? You know what I mean? Like it could. I mean, Miami is going to be a very difficult win for us because of that. It's his first game. It's the first chance. They're going to come after him. We all know what's going to happen. 8 in the box. They're going to come after him. I just think that it could take us a little bit to get settled here, and therefore you're going to lose one of those 2 games. You're going to lose. So there's one loss right there, probably better than a 50% chance in those first 2 games. After that, as Ed said, you got those 3 teams that always give us trouble, always play to Notre Dame's level when they're playing. And but that is the reality, the nature. I mean, so 10-2, I could see that. I don't think that's. Yeah, would I be disappointed? Well, sure, I'd be a little bit disappointed, but I mean, I think it's realistic. I think 9-3 is a possibility. I think that could happen to us if Carr struggles a little bit to get his feet underneath him and unfortunately, we'll be a really damn good 9-3 football team, but that could happen.
Okay, so let's talk about the keys to ultimately success, whether that's 10-2, 11-1, whatever, however you're going to define that. Eddie, finish this sentence. We will be successful this year if
we average between 4.5 and 6 yards on first down.
Okay.
I would agree with that. No, I would tell you, I would say if we are 60% on fourth down conversions, we're going to be in a really good spot. I put a lot of emphasis on that because I think I don't know if you guys watched the Iowa State, Kansas State game, but there were 7 fourth down attempts by both teams. The team that won the football game was 4 for 4 on fourth down, and they won by 3 points. So that's become a big issue in college football today. And just with our running game and everything, and we don't have Riley Leonard, and I think that was a big part of why we converted so much last year. So, but yeah, I think that's going to be key. Just in terms of the outlier statistic. Yeah, okay, I'd rather say that we throw for 200 yards against Miami. That would be a really good sign. But the reality of the matter is, I'm going to stick to the fourth down conversion thing. That'll be my shtick for the year.
And you've just challenged me to track that against the top 20. I'm gonna give you every week the team that are ranked in the top 10 and the teams that are ranked in the top 10 of fourth down conversion. We can compare that. I remember a few years ago we had a running battle about punt return, average punt return being your key metric for the year. So challenge accepted. I'm gonna you mentioned Riley Leonard, what he brought to it. And, I think red zone efficiency for me, like, can we replace Riley Leonard's production in the red zone? That's going to be interesting to see. Who knows if we see Kenny Minchie in a package? Who knows, right? But it'll be interesting to see if we can replace that sort of efficiency we had not having Riley Leonard running the ball in the red zone. So, but I do think, obviously, we're going to be successful if the offensive line is as good as we think, and our running game allows that time for CJ Carr to grow into the role. So, all right. Well, I think we're about done for today. We're going to be back throughout the season with 2 to 3 shows per week as we kind of break down the results on Saturday, look ahead to the upcoming opponent, check in with what Coach Freeman and the coaches and the players say at the press conference, and we'll be with you for what should be a great ride throughout the season as the Fighting Irish look to continue the great play that we saw last year. Until then, for Mike
Brammer going to be is Brammer going to be in Hard Rock? Are you going to be at the game, Mike?
At the moment, I got a ticket, yeah. So at the moment, but we're moving the day before, so the pressure's on me to get all moved out so that I can attend the game. But yeah, all my kids are going, by the way. So my kids are flooding the stadium. They'll all be there. But I'm right now 50-50. I got to make sure that I get everything moved out on Saturday.
Okay, well, that's good to know. We'll have at least 15,000 fans supporting Notre Dame in the stadium.
That's exactly right.
Okay, for Ed Jordanek and Mike Brammer, I'm Mike Sullivan. Thanks for watching Dome and Domer, the longest running Notre Dame sports podcast in the world. We'll see you next time.